My name is Robert Love. I'm a neuroscientist and I specialize in helping people prevent Alzheimer's disease with science. I have a medical clinic in Florida where we are reversing Alzheimer's in our clinic with a new FDA clinical trial. And my medical director in our clinic is Dr. Josh Hellman, a medical doctor trained at Harvard. In this episode, I interview Dr. Stephen Gundry, a world-famous cardiologist, New York Times bestselling author. In this episode, he shares with you the foods that are best for your gut bacteria. What's good for your gut is good for your brain. The supplements that are best for your brain to help reduce the risk of dementia, and the very best foods for your brain. So here is the world-famous Dr. Stephen Gundry. We have an amazing guest today, Dr. Stephen Gundry. He's a world-famous heart surgeon who 25 years ago realized that heart disease was preventable and even could be reversed, and it changed his career. And now he's dedicating his life to being rather contrary to mainstream science by telling you you can heal yourself with healthy changes to your behaviors, to your diet, to your exercise, healthy supplements. And he's just been a wealth of information to so many millions of people, best-selling author. Dr. Gundry, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's get right into it. You say in your new book, all disease begins in the gut. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I didn't say it. Hippocrates said it 2,500 years ago, and I've spent 25 years now trying to figure out how the guy knew this. I think to better paraphrase it is all disease begins in a leaky gut. And in my new book, Gut Checked, I make the case that you name the disease, I can show you that gut dysbiosis, a breakdown of the diversity of the gut microbiome, and leaks in the wall of the gut directly correlate with that disease process. And the good news is that once you fix gut dysbiosis and fix and repair the wall of the gut, that disease resolves, which I realize is a very strong statement. But I've now seen this and published results about this over the last 25 years. Recently, I've shown in autoimmune patients who now constitute about 80% of my patients, 94% of patients with a measurable autoimmune disease by blood tests or by symptoms resolve their autoimmune disease in 9 months to a year by following my program, which is not bad.
So 8 out of 10 patients resolve their autoimmune issues within 9 to 12 months of following your program, which fixes the leaky gut.
Yeah, 9 out of 10. And the last chapter of Gut Check basically says, here's what happened to the other 10%, and here's what I learned because of those 10% who didn't perfectly improve. And it has to do with food sensitivities.
And I'm guessing your book details the process and what people can do, which is amazing, because for the price of a book, people can get, millions of dollars of research and the exact steps they can take to heal a very expensive disease. Can you give us some of the highlights of those steps people can take to help heal their gut?
One of the first things people need to do is to get their vitamin D levels much higher than what's currently recommended. Bare minimum for anyone should be 5,000 international units of vitamin D. That's 125 micrograms. But the University of California, San Diego, which has one of the biggest vitamin D research centers in the country, thinks the average American should be taking 9,600 international units to have an adequate level of vitamin D. They, like I, have never seen vitamin D toxicity up to 40,000 international units a day. I currently have some of my autoimmune patients with severe leaky gut taking 50,000 international units of vitamin D a day, and they're not vitamin D toxic.
And that's, is that 10 or 100 times the recommended daily allowance, the RDA?
Yeah, the RDA is 600 international units, and that is so woefully inadequate. Luckily, certain labs are beginning to become aware of what a normal vitamin D level should be. I was taught, as most of my compatriots, that vitamin D levels above 60 or 80 nanograms per milliliter are toxic. Now, the Cleveland Clinic and Quest say that up to 150 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D is perfectly normal, not toxic. And I believe most of us should be running in the 100 to 150 range in our vitamin D levels.
Now, I'm guessing we want to be taking this as a supplement. Do we want to be taking this in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening? I'm guessing we want to take it with fat. Do we want to divide it up or take it all at once? What works best?
Well, interestingly enough, Dr. Hollick, who's the professor of dermatology at Boston University, who's one of the great scientists of vitamin D research, has shown that you don't need, even though it's a fat-soluble vitamin, you do not need to consume fat when you consume vitamin D. It's perfectly well absorbed without fat. So that's one of the great misnomers of vitamin D. And you can take it anytime you want. You don't need to split up the dosage. It is a fat-soluble vitamin, so it will store in your fat. But one of the things that was fascinating to me, before we had really good tests for leaky gut, one of the things I noticed with all of my patients with autoimmune disease is that they had quite low vitamin D levels. And vitamin D is really very useful, as I talk about in Gut Check, to repair leaky gut. And I won't go into the mechanism, but it's real. And I found that these people with autoimmune disease, I had to give huge amounts of vitamin D to get their levels where I wanted them. And then as months progress, and I check vitamin D levels every 3 months in my patients, I noticed that we began overshooting, that we didn't need as much. And I began using their vitamin D levels as a way of looking at whether their leaky gut was healed. And sure enough, when leaky gut tests were developed, correlated perfectly with the amount of vitamin D they needed.
That is really fascinating science and practice of medicine to say, look, we're going to look at your vitamin D levels and use that as a benchmark for, is your leaky gut healed? That is fantastic. And you've seen great results with that.
Yeah. And, another thing that I've learned through the years, most of our elderly patients, is that they had quite low levels of total protein and albumin in their blood. And my friend Walter Longo from USC says, yeah, that's because as you get older, your protein requirements go higher and higher and higher. And he and I are both advocates of a low animal protein diet for fairly good reasons, but he and I disagree that as you get older, you need more protein in your diet. Well, my contention is that as you get older, eating our diet, you damage the wall of the gut. And whereas the wall of the gut normally has the surface area of a tennis court, the damage that occurs is you'll eventually end up with a ping pong table instead of a tennis court. So your absorptive area goes down. And what I showed in my research was I put people on a low protein diet that eliminates causes of leaky gut, including lectins and low vitamin D. And surprisingly, their albumin and their total proteins go up and up and up.
Really?
So it's not a question of, do you need more protein as you get older? No, that's a sign that you damaged your gut. And if you repair your gut, that'll fix the problem.
I would like to thank our sponsor, NeuroPlus Brain and Focus Formula. This is a supplement I designed to optimize brain health, improve focus, memory, and attention, and reduce stress. This has 7 powerful ingredients that work synergistically to improve memory, increase neurotransmitters, dopamine and acetylcholine, while reducing stress. And this can help end brain fog in as little as 3 days. And right now, for a limited time, when you try my NeuroPlus risk-free, you get a free physical copy, a hardbound copy of the new book, heavily meditated by New York Times bestselling author Dave Asprey. In this book, by the way, it's a $28 value. You can go to Amazon right now. This book costs $28. You get a free physical copy sent to you. In this book, you're going to learn how to improve your memory, reduce stress and anxiety, improve your brain health, and reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Naturally, you get this book absolutely free when you try my NeuroPlus Brain and Focus Formula risk-free. So to try my NeuroPlus Brain and Focus Formula risk-free, it comes with 6 months unconditional money-back guarantee, and get a free physical copy of Dave Asprey's new book. Go to robertlove.net and then click the link that says NeuroPlus Brain and Focus Formula and get your free copy while supplies last. That's fantastic. I listened to Dr. Peter Attia, and he talks about the need to eat more and more protein to prevent sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass as we age. And I think that's really important. My channel is primarily dedicated to preventing Alzheimer's disease, so sarcopenia is a real concern for a lot of viewers. And the idea that by improving gut health, that it can improve absorption and you can eat less protein and be healthier, that is just fantastic. So let's get down to foods. People want to avoid the foods that are most harming them, harming their brain, harming their gut. What are your top foods to prevent harming our gut as well as harming our brains?
Well, as you know, I became good friends with Dale Bredesen, who wrote The End of Alzheimer's, because both of us, some of our original research was on the ApoE4 mutation. I came at it from a cardiovascular standpoint because there's a strong correlation with carrying the ApoE4 mutation and cardiovascular disease and stroke. And Dale, of course, came at it from his neurologist hat. And interestingly enough, when we were both introduced, we both realized that our interest was the same and that all the problems were actually coming from the gut. And same with David Perlmutter, who's become a good friend. So all of these disciplines, which would seem to have no interest with each other, we all now concentrate on the gut as the cause of the problem. And so one of the things that I've found with my patients with ApoE4, and that constitutes about 30% of the population, is you want to prevent LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, endotoxemia, from leaking from the gut. And one of the best ways to do that is to have a healthy microbiome, number one. And number two, you want to prevent damage to the wall of the gut. And interestingly enough, one of the best ways to damage the wall of the gut is to eat lectin-containing foods. And so the first thing I do with my patients is I eliminate most grains and pseudograins from their diet, and I eliminate the legume family unless they're pressure cooked. Now, Dale, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but maybe I will, thinks that a ketogenic-like diet may be the most important thing that we can do for our patients to give the neurons in the brain an alternative fuel source. And I go into that in Unlocking the Keto Code. I think most of the ketogenic diets are not constructed properly, but that's another subject. So why do I tell people to get rid of, let's just take wheat as an example. I measure leaky gut in almost all of my patients, and I can tell you that all of my patients with dementia or mild cognitive impairment, or coronary artery disease for that matter, have antibodies to the various forms of wheat germ agglutinin, the various antibodies to gluten, non-gluten wheat proteins. 100% of them carry these antibodies. So that means our immune system has been actively exposed to foreign proteins and has made antibodies against them. And that means they are inflammatory. Now, people say, well, neuroinflammation is the cause of Alzheimer's. Sure it is. But where did the neuroinflammation come from? And my contention is the neuroinflammation came from leaky gut and exposure to antigens. The other thing that's really interesting in gut check, and I talked about this in the plant paradox, is a sugar molecule in beef, lamb, pork, and milk products that's called Nu5GC. And Nu5GC, if you want to produce leaky brain and neuroinflammation, you want to eat Nu5GC containing foods. So that means beef, lamb, pork, and milk products that aren't fermented are loaded with Nu5GC. And here's the bad news. Liver has the highest Nu5GC of any food.
Oh, no, so, we're so healthy. At least we think at least we were told it was healthy.
Well, again, the evidence now is, and I make a strong case for this in Gut Check, and I have no dog in this fight. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, the beef state, for God's sake. And the sad thing is that new 5GC is a great way to cause leaky gut. New 5GC incorporates into the protective lining of our blood vessels, incorporates into the blood-brain barrier, incorporates into our joints, and explains why red meat eating is so strongly associated with heart disease, dementia, and arthritis, among other things. And cancer, by the way, but that's a whole different subject.
I would like to thank our sponsor, Microingredients. All of Microingredients products are third-party tested, so you are getting the highest quality products. They have a great collagen that can help reduce wrinkles, also great for your skin, hair, nails. MCT oil, I love this in my coffee, great for the brain, also great for weight loss. Their blueberry powder, this is organic blueberry powder. This is fantastic for your brain. And then they also have a great curcumin supplement that's very good. So this blueberry powder, this is organic blueberries, which is so important. And this is such a great deal. This is 350 servings in this. This is $10 of organic blueberries at Costco. This is, this is $20 or $30. And this is organic blueberry powder, 350 servings. This is $10. This is like 3 or 4 days worth. Such a great value. I add this to my smoothie. I add it to desserts. I add it to my yogurt made of coconut. This is so good. Great for kids if you're trying to get more nutrition in them. So try the organic blueberry powder. It's a terrific value. It'll last you a long time. And you get lots of great antioxidants and polyphenols that are terrific for your brain. To get this, go to Amazon and then use the coupon code RobertLove at checkout. Now, what about artificial sweeteners? There's been a lot of debate about artificial sweeteners. There's been laboratory studies showing that they're not related to insulin resistance and diabetes. There's longitudinal studies. There's a 100,000 person study out of France showing a 69% increased risk in diabetes over 9 years. What is your understanding of the science of aspartame? What do people need to know about artificial sweeteners and gut health?
Well, most of these actually do raise insulin levels through actually multiple mechanisms. One of the interesting mechanisms that I think most people aren't aware of, but I've written about in previous books, is we don't have any sugar receptors in our tongue. We have sweet receptors. We also have sweet receptors loaded into the wall of our GI tract, not just our tongue. So these receptors do not recognize sugar, but they recognize sweetness. And when they recognize sweetness, they send a message up to the brain. They text the brain that said, this person just ate sugar. That's the only explanation of how this sweet receptor got activated, because that was the only source way back when. The brain says, got it. I'm going to call down to the pancreas and make a lot of insulin to handle that sugar load that I know is coming. It never comes. Then the brain says, wait a minute, you've been cheated. Go find some more because I know I know sugar was on the way. And look, I was a Diet Coke addict when I was a fat guy. I was drinking 8 Diet Cokes a day. If you could sterilize Diet Coke, I would have drank it in the operating room. So all of these, regardless of whether they're safe, activate an intrinsic mechanism by activating sweet receptors in our gut that make more insulin and make you seek this out when it doesn't arrive, when sugar doesn't arrive again. That's number one. And that's not mentioned in a lot of these studies. Number two, and so even stevia does that. Number two, probably the worst part is almost all of these substances completely change the gut microbiome into a dysbiotic microbiome. It kills off a lot of the essential microbes in our intestines. And like Gut Check makes the case, the last thing you want to do is have a non-diverse microbiome. You want the most incredible, diverse tropical rainforest living in your gut possible. And artificial sweeteners are among other ways of just starting to destroy this. A Duke study years ago showed that sucralose, one packet of Splenda, killed off 50% of the normal flora in your gut. One dumb packet.
One packet of sucralose killed half the healthy gut bacteria in your body. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So even occasionally is not safe. Occasional usage of diet sodas and artificial sweeteners is not safe because of its big impact on the gut and the gut health. Goodness gracious.
Now, there's a great new sweetener that I'm actually a big fan of, and it's called allulose. Allulose is a true sugar, and it was actually first discovered in figs. Most of it is made from corn now, so if you're going to buy allulose, get non-GMO allulose, because most of our corn in this country is GMO. But allulose got approval by the FDA as a prebiotic. So it feeds friendly bacteria. And there's cool studies that it actually lowers the glycemic response to having a cup of coffee. So quite frankly, I drink my coffee black, but I put allulose in it every morning.
Fantastic. I used allulose for years when I had to buy it from a manufacturer. I was making healthy chocolate with allulose. I was trying to make a keto-friendly chocolate. So I'm so excited. My hope is that because of your work and the education around allulose, it replaces regular sugar in most packaged foods because it's a one-to-one substitute and it's really healthy for us.
Yeah, and it's easy to bake with. It's easy to cook with. You're right. It's a one-to-one replacement. And it is a true, rare sugar. So there's nothing fake about it.
Now, you've been very effective in using supplements to help your patients and optimize your own health. What are some supplements that are really powerful that most medical doctors are unlikely to tell their patients about?
Well, we've already mentioned one, vitamin D. Number two, and I think I'm really on a mission about this, is that vitamin C, timed release vitamin C, may be one of the most important substances that you can swallow. We, like guinea pigs and New World monkeys, do not manufacture vitamin C. All other animals do. There are actually 5 genes involved with making enzymes that convert glucose to vitamin C. Vitamin C is derived from glucose. We carry 4 of those genes. The 5th gene in humans is called a ghost gene. It's not active. And some beautiful research that I talk about in Gut Check, you can genetically engineer mice and rats to have the ghost gene, the 5th gene deletion. Those animals will live half as long as normal mice and rats, half as long. If you put vitamin C in their drinking water, then they will achieve the same longevity of the normal rat. And there's work by Bill Sardi, who recently passed away, who showed that if you extrapolate from mice and rat data, and I don't mean you can, the average human could live 250 years.
Oh my goodness.
Just by having that dumb gene.
If you or someone you love has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, I want you to know there is hope. Alzheimer's is preventable and it is even reversible. In fact, we are reversing Alzheimer's in my medical clinic here in Florida. My partner and medical director is Dr. Josh Hellman, a medical doctor trained at Harvard who specializes in preventing and reversing Alzheimer's disease, and we are reversing Alzheimer's in our patients. If you'd like to learn more about working with us to both prevent Alzheimer's and even reverse Alzheimer's and reverse memory loss associated with other forms of dementia, we would love to hear from you and send you some free information so you can learn what we are doing and see if it's a fit for you to come down and work with us in our clinic. We also work with other clinics around the country to help patients both prevent Alzheimer's as well as to reverse Alzheimer's and reverse memory loss associated with dementia. So if you'd like to learn more, go to brainpowerclinics.com. Go to brainpowerclinics.com and then enter your information. We will send you some free information, and then we hope to work with you, if we can be helpful to you, to help you prevent and reverse Alzheimer's disease.
So time-release vitamin C is really, really important. And most people don't take it. You just need about 1,000 milligrams once or twice a day of time-release vitamin C. Or if that's inconvenient, carry around some chewable vitamin C and eat about 500 milligrams a few times a day. Unfortunately, it's water soluble and it only lasts in circulation for a very short time. Interestingly enough, and we got into a debate recently about this, Smokers who have very high vitamin C levels have no adverse effect from nicotine.
Oh, my goodness.
And if you look at people with peripheral vascular disease who are smokers, smokers who have the highest serum levels of vitamin C have the lowest peripheral arterial vascular disease, and smokers who have the lowest vitamin C levels have the highest peripheral vascular disease. So once again, I spend a whole chapter in Gut Check talking about nicotine, and smoking may be one of the real reasons super old people live a long time, but they have incredibly high vitamin C levels in their diet from the food they eat. So vitamin C is really important.
It's so interesting. You've mentioned in past interviews the importance of mushrooms. You've talked about how mushrooms improve brain health. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the benefits of mushrooms to the gut and brain. And also, what are your thoughts on lion's mane? Lion's mane's gotten really popular as both a supplement and as an edible mushroom.
Yeah, so lion's mane, so all mushrooms have some really interesting polysaccharides. The polysaccharides, as the name implies, are lots of sugar molecules, but particularly mushrooms have very difficult to break apart these sugar molecules by our digestive system and our digestive enzymes, so that these polysaccharides arrive in the colon virtually undigested. And they're one of the favorite foods to ferment by gut bacteria. And so these polysaccharides, like beta-glucans, are powerful ways of modulating the immune system because of the way they modulate gut bacteria. And my last few books are all about how you really want the gut bacteria to tell the immune system what to do. And now we realize that the magic of mushrooms isn't some magical compounds that modulate the immune system. It's that they give the gut bacteria the things they need to talk to the immune system. Now, lion's mane and other mushrooms definitely do increase levels of BDNF, and that stimulates neuron growth, stimulates dendritic projections. And one of the things that's interesting about Alzheimer's is that glial cell activation by leaky gut and leaky brain is actually one of the main problems with Alzheimer's, in that glial cells and microglial cells actually eat away dendritic processes of the neurons in a way to protect the neurons when they sense neuroinflammation. And so, yeah, mushrooms are great. Oh, by the way, mushrooms are a great source of vitamin D as well.
Now, do you like mushroom supplements as well for people who have trouble eating mushrooms on a daily basis?
Yeah, mushrooms are one of those. I eat a lot of mushrooms. My wife hates them, so I take mushroom supplements, and I give my wife mushroom supplements to make up for the fact that she won't eat mushrooms. The easiest way to make mushrooms interesting is to actually bake them on a cookie sheet, spray them with olive oil and some herbs, and make them crispy. And you can make mushroom bacon. And most people who hate the sliminess of mushrooms, that gets around it actually very easily.
Oh, that's so interesting. I've recently discovered the mushroom chips. I'm so excited. Hopefully it's made with healthier oils, but I think those could replace potato chips in the next 5 years, which would be such a blessing to remove potato chips and put in mushroom chips. There's a great shiitake mushroom chip. Dr. Gundry, I know you got to run soon, but before you go, I'd love to ask you just really quickly your top 3 foods for the gut. So Dr. Gundry, if you could only recommend 3 foods for the gut for people to get started, what would you recommend?
So one of the best ways to improve your gut health is the more inulin-containing foods you eat, the better. Now, inulin happens to be a prebiotic fiber that we can't digest. Where do you find it? The easiest way to find it is in most grocery stores in the produce section. Look for any of the chicory family vegetables. Radicchio is the easiest one to find. People sometimes call it Italian red lettuce. It's not. It's chicory. Belgian endive is a chicory family. frisee. I just got back from France last night. Every salad that I have in France has chicory in it. It has frisee. It has Belgian endive. It has radicchio. It's like, how come every salad I ever get in France has got these things? Artichokes are a great source of inulin. Buy artichoke hearts. They're easy to find. They're frozen. They're in cans. That's a really easy way to do it. I'm a huge fan of the cruciferous vegetables with a proviso. So broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, Swiss chard, arugula. I have some very well-meaning patients who really believe the hype of cruciferous vegetables, the brassica family vegetables, and go at these every day of their lives, and I watch their thyroid function get depressed, because they will depress thyroid function. And when I have them back off on their cruciferous vegetables, up comes the thyroid function. So it's a real thing. It's not pseudo, it actually does happen. But so cruciferous vegetables. Finally, I guess I'm famous for saying the only purpose of food is to get olive oil in your mouth.
I love that. I love that quote. I share that quote often. It's fabulous.
You look at multiple studies. The Prediment study is particularly good, particularly for brain health. People were forced to use a liter of olive oil per week compared to a standard Mediterranean diet. And believe it or not, the more olive oil these people ate, or the more walnuts they ate, the better their brain health was over a 5-year period from the age 65 to 70. A regular diet actually had diminished brain health, and this was a Mediterranean diet.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Gundry, thank you so much. Thank you for all the information that you share, the science that you share, and just thank you for the blessing that you've been to so many millions of people. And it's just an honor to have this opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, thanks for letting me be on your program, and let's reach a few more people.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.